Sure.
All right, categorize this as salt in the wound. In the meantime, Vice President Joe Biden today announcing a separate program that would grant refugee status to some minors in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador if their parents live in the United States legally. He says it should help stem the flow of illegal immigrant children from Central America. But North Carolina Sheriff Sam Page fears it would have just the opposite effect. The sheriff on the phone with me now. Sheriff, we don't even know how many people we're talking about here, but I would think it goes into the hundreds of thousands.
Again, the key word is we don't know.
So what do you do?
Well, you know, I was reading a recent release from Chairman Bob Goodlatte in Congress saying this policy announced by the Obama administration today is simply a government-sanctioned border surge. And I think all it does is encourage the same thing we saw last summer with 60,000 persons coming across the border that we do know of, that were coming in and basically turning themselves into the Border Patrol agents and saying, I want to seek asylum or refugee status.
And the border agents and guys like yourself are trying to deal with it because, yeah, in states like North Carolina, too, not a border state, but you're hit by this as well. They can't do anything.
No, until we in America decide that we're going to secure our international borders, north, south, east, and west, each sheriff in America is going to end up being a border sheriff.
So let me ask you this, Sheriff, and I'm wondering, always trying to get the side of what Democrats are thinking on this, that what if they're secretly offering Republicans tighter border security, more troops at the border, more drones at the border, any of this stuff that's been mentioned, as a quid pro quo that will ease the criticism people have, particularly Republicans, to delaying, canceling deportations for millions of illegals? Would that cut it?
Well, it sounds like more and more promises, but we haven't seen the delivery of actual services in protecting and securing our borders. We've heard this before, and it sounds like we're going to hear it again, a promise of border security. And we really can't talk about anything about any further immigration, fixing the immigration system, until we truly dedicate ourselves to securing our international borders.
Sheriff, you and I got into this before last time at the pleasure of your company, and I think it gets back to how it emboldens those already here, whether they're part of the 5 million, they could at least rest assured that it is very unlikely there'll be any mass deportations going on in the face of so many frozen, right?
Well, you know, again, until you secure your borders, there will always be, when you announce a date or a situation where persons, if they get in under a certain date, you're going to always have people trying to get in under the wire to get in.
But wouldn't that embolden them, Sheriff? In other words, those already here or those even entertaining getting here, there's very little to change their behavior going on, right?
I don't see anything. I think it seems like a rewarding of persons that are coming in to break our laws. And it would only encourage more people to do so. I don't see anything that occurred between last summer and current right now that would deter persons wanting to come into our country illegally through our borders.
Yeah. Do you know what happens to the 5 million? They're obviously identified in that case, right? So what does that obligate communities to do?
Well, I see one of the biggest issues with the situation with the president's plan is that once a person gets legal status here, refugee status, then they can apply for any benefits for years to come. And then, of course, you've already mentioned all the persons out of work and unemployed or underemployed in the United States, and then you add additional cost and increased cost to the American taxpayer. I just don't see how we can continue to bear this burden.
We're having a tough enough time as it is. Sheriff, thank you very, very much.